So in my speculative evolution series, there are a lot of things that I haven't explained a lot, mainly about the effects of radiation. So I'm basically going to be making sense of how all of this works. And at the end of the video, I'll be showing off the first creature that has evolved into the modern age. Of course, remember to like, subscribe, and please comment on my video because it actually helps, especially since I asked people to name the new class of vertebrate that these space pterosaurs are part of, and I got no response whatsoever, which feels sad. So comment now on what I should name this vertebrate class so we can get into the video. So, radiation. Why did I replace breathing oxygen with radiation? This is the first question you might want to ask. There's actually two good reasons for this. For one, there's a relatively infinite source of it, especially in space, where there's little to no oxygen, and I can't just simply go anaerobic and call it a day, because anaerobic respiration doesn't produce as much ATP as its aerobic counterpart. And ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, is basically the thing that animal cells need to live, so using an alternative is just better. Now, of course, this doesn't mean this series is going to be filled with kaiju-sized gods, because that's for much later. The second point for why I made radiation breathing is because radiation also drives mutation. An actual example is Methylobacterium, a species of bacteria that can only be found by the ISS, or the International Space Station. It evolved to survive the conditions of space, and because it's not from Earth, it can technically be considered an alien species, but since it evolved and descended from Earth, I don't think it could really classify as such. Same thing applies to these guys. They're still animals, not aliens. Another question you may ask is, why am I classifying my animals in this series as their own class of vertebrate instead of keeping them as reptiles? Why I did this is because I feel like these creatures are different enough to be their own thing, like how birds are dinosaurs, but they're unique, and not just dinosaurs who are reptiles. So they're distinctive enough to be classified as birds. The same applies here. Not only do they have their own way of giving birth, but they also have a lot of traits that make them the way they are. As an added bonus, these space pterosaurs are what I like to call hot-blooded. Because it's so cold in space, their body temperature has to produce more heat than mammals so they can be alive. Their cells also resist these more extreme temperatures, and the added bonus of radiation keeps them alive for more than one day. They still have to eat food, because I want a thriving ecosystem after all. The last question I want to answer before people start asking is why I decided to give these animals some sort of superpower. I know that fantasy doesn't work with reality, but radiation can do some freaky things, like how I'm also a fan of the Monsterverse and their idea of how radiation is a source of power that gives the Titans the ability to have superpowered abilities that defy the law of realism. Of course, there are biological mechanisms to how the Stella Herbie's ancestor produces its electric shock, but I can't really afford the time to come up with how that could work. So I'm hoping that someone else can come up with it, and I'd be happy to see how that turns out. Anyways, with all these questions answered, let me show you the first of the modern age space pterosaur I've been working on so far. So this creature is called the Tlamatini chanek, meaning wise savage. They're part of a genus of intelligent space pterosaurs, which have the shared ability of being able to shoot fiery hot bullets from their mouths that act as a biological cannon. They've evolved this ability as they live in areas where the temperature can sometimes get high, and they had to adapt to hunt together, solve problems that require a high degree of thinking, and eventually enter their own Stone Age, where they've already started wearing clothing. Basically, they're destined to become the new sapient species that isn't actually on Earth anymore. Yeah, these space pterosaurs have finally passed the Kármán line and have stopped around 15 kilometers above it, where they will be residing from now on. Now, for the plants, I haven't made any so far. I still plan on working on how they work, although I plan on making a lot of them soon. There will be a lot of sky domes, each ranging from low-rising to high-rising, all around within a 5-kilometer band that spans across the entire Earth. With that being said, this is really all I have to share for you today. So again, be sure to like and subscribe to see what else I've been planning for this series. And remember to give a comment for this video so I can see your ideas. With that said, I'll see y'all in the next video.